Superheroes of CircuitPython and would-be worldwide defenders of refrigerated snack foods. It's Prof G, and this lesson will start by posing the Fridge Alarm Challenge. You'll use what you know about programming the CircuitPlayground light sensor, as well as alarm code you wrote to flash lights and play a siren sound, and you'll combine this code to trigger an alert when unauthorized sneaks try to nab your personal refrigerated goodness. It works! Let's tackle the challenge, then compare answers. So the idea behind the Fridge Alarm Challenge is that many college students suffer from roommates who snarf goodies from their fridge. This happens in my family, it happened when I was in college, so what you can do to defend your goodness is to build a fridge alarm to catch the culprits red-handed when they open the fridge door. The light from the fridge door or the ambient light in the room should trigger the alarm to pulse and play siren.wave, similar to the alarm.py code that we wrote in an earlier lesson. So when the code first runs, the alarm should be off. Now pressing button A should arm or activate the alarm. Now you'll have 5 seconds to put the alarm inside the fridge and close the door. At that point, there shouldn't be any light inside the fridge. Now opening the fridge with the alarm armed should activate simultaneous red pulsing and the siren wave sound. Choose a value for the light sensor that you think works best for detecting an open fridge door. Now pressing button B should turn off the alarm so that it won't keep going, and it's okay to hold your finger down on button B until the sound pulse cycle is done. So that would be similar to the alarm with buttons code. I think that might be better than the alarm instant code that we wrote, because this way the alarm will play for a little bit even after the button is pressed, and it'll make sure that you're warned that somebody's trying to steal your stuff. When you're done, save your work as fridgealarm.py. You should be armed with the skill to build this. It's working. I'm going to go into my fridge. I'm going to press my A button to arm my alarm. I'm going to quickly close the refrigerator door. I'm going to wait 4 seconds, and let's see if our alarm works. It works! So there you have it. You can rewind if you need to review the details, but pause, give it a try, and when you're ready, resume, and we'll compare answers. And now to begin, plug in that CircuitPlayground board, Blue Fruit or Express, start up PyCharm. If you're new here, welcome. You may want to check out the prior lessons in the playlist to see how we got to this point. So I'm going to start with the code that we had written after the alarm lesson, and I've loaded that up from my CircuitPython school folder, and since I'm going to add light sensor code, we need to import analog IO, and why don't we change the comment up top so that it says fridge-alarm. Then just before the 2 functions down below, let's set up the light sensor like this. Light_sensor equals analog IO dot analog in, capital A, capital I, and then we pass between the parentheses board dot light in all caps. And I'm going to change this variable that used to be called start_playing to one called armed. We'll use that as a flag to keep track of whether or not the alarm is armed, and we'll set this to false initially to indicate that the board is not armed when the code first runs. I'll also make sure that my brightness is set to 0 and that my board is ready to fill color in red. That's all our setup, so let's head down to while true. Now when I press button A, I want to arm the board, but I also want to wait 5 seconds after the button is pressed before checking the light sensor. This gives me enough time to put the board and the battery in the fridge and close the door. So I'll do that with this. If button_A.value, keep that there, and after this I'm just going to print out armed, just for testing purposes when I run when I'm connected to TO. We'll set armed equal to true with a capital T, and below that we'll say time.sleep, and in parentheses 5.0. So this means after pressing button A, we're going to change armed to true, and we're going to wait 5 seconds. Now if button B is pressed, we want to just disable the alarm, so that's pretty easy. If button_B.value, why don't we print disarmed here as well, but then we'll just set armed equal to capital F false. And finally, let's think about when we want the alarm to go off. Well, 2 things should happen. 1, armed should be set to true, and 2, the light sensor should go off. It should be above a minimum threshold. So we can code that like this. If armed, and remember we talked about that keyword when we discussed compound conditionals a few lessons ago? And on the same line, light_sensor.value, and I think greater than 2000 works. Again, you can test out the different values and see what works for you. Then we'll print out light_sensor.value just to see what that number is when it's set off, and then we can call play_sound, passing in siren.wave. Let's try this out in PyCharm before we plug in a battery and try it out in the refrigerator. So open the terminal, get into TO, save, and now I'm going to press button A. That arms the device. I see it prints out armed, and I'm going to hold my hand over the device to pretend I'm closing the refrigerator door. So my hand is the refrigerator door. And now watch what happens when I lift it up. Oh, the alarm goes off. Nice. Press B. And after holding it down, the alarm goes off. We can arm again by pressing A, cover up, open the fridge door, the alarm goes off, press B. I took my finger off too early. You've got to hold it down through the end of the play. And we've disarmed. So it's working great. Save this as fridge-alarm.py to your CircuitPython school folder, and close the extra tab. Let's go try it out in our fridge.
All right, friends, let's do a real-time test. You can see I've got my CircuitPlayground Blue Fruit plugged in. So when I turn on my battery pack, I can see the little green light is on, so it's working. I'm gonna go into my fridge. I'm gonna place it on top of the Chobani yogurts, sometimes a subject of frequent late-night snacking. I'm gonna press my A button to arm my alarm. I'm gonna quickly close the refrigerator door. I'm gonna wait 4 seconds, and let's see if our alarm works. It works! I'm warned.
So hopefully you found that a fun challenge. As always, if you struggled with anything, rewatch the lessons until you've got concepts down. Remember, there's more big learning to come. And you know what? I think with that fridge alarm, you made a little bit of awesome. Keep hacking!